I'm going to show you my exact strategy for finding apps that have potential to generate over $10,000 a month in revenue. By the end of this video, you're going to have my exact mindset for how I size markets, understand as a whole how much revenue an entire app category has to spend, and how I could capture a slice of that pie. You're also going to understand my thought process for competitive analysis, and I'm going to show you an awesome tool that you can use to spy on your competitors' revenue so that you can understand how big of an opportunity that your app idea has. So whether you have an idea or you don't, this lesson is going to be integral for your success and adapting the same mindset that all of the builders at Ambitious Labs have. This is the exact same process that we take all of our builders through during the enrollment process for the Dreams into Apps Accelerator, because we are looking at builders who have small products in huge markets. So in this lesson, we're going to go into how we can size markets, how to do competitive analysis. And if you're excited about your idea by the end of this lesson, make sure to use the link below to book a free discovery call to join the Dreams into Apps Accelerator. And without further ado, let's jump into this video. So here's the agenda. First, we're going to go over some key concepts that you need to understand. These are key business concepts, stuff that you're taught in MBA school, in business school, and we're going to prime your mindset. Then we're going to go through a market sizing exercise that is completely separate from the software and app world, but it's going to give you a framework of thought for how you should approach your competitive analysis and how you should approach if you run into a situation where you're trying to build an app business in a market where your app may already exist. There might be similar products out there. And really, this is going to be something that I believe is life-changing. It's something that my father has taught me as a third-generation entrepreneur. It's something that every business man or woman has embodied in their mindset that really is the reason that they don't fear competition. They don't fear to go into business, okay? All this is going to be extremely integral when I show you the tool that I use to spy on my competitors' revenue when I'm building an app. We use this at PrizePicks when we were early, just trying to make sure that we could outcompete our competitors. We do this now as well. We're always looking at apps that, are rocketing in revenue, are rocketing in popularity, so that we can figure out opportunities or gaps in the market where we can compete and build products as well, or we can give our builders the confidence to continue building their products in markets that are pre-validated, all right? Okay, so mindset. First, we need to understand that competition is not to be feared. Competition is a great thing. It means that there is a need for your product out there. And as a third-generation entrepreneur, this is something that my father has taught me. This is something that I've studied in all the great business people out there, that if there's competition, it means that there are customers, and it means that there is a need, and you should absolutely embrace competition, because the truth of the matter is there is no product in the world that can satisfy every single customer. Products are purpose-built for a specific user persona or a customer avatar. And it's very possible that there's a product out there that may not be serving a particular group of people correctly. And that's where entrepreneurs identify what's called gaps in the market. And these gaps are where you can introduce new products that can serve the people who aren't being served correctly from that initial product, okay? And this all ties into slice of pie theory, where all the competition or all the money that's being transacted for that particular market represents a large pie, right? And your job as an entrepreneur is to build a slice of pie that is particularly for a very unique type of person, or it solves a completely tangential type of problem, okay? So your thought process should be, okay, we have competition. First, how much competition? How big is the market? Because it's very possible that there's competition, but the market's not that big. So our goal, and what investors and VCs are looking for, are building small products in huge markets, because you can always penetrate a market with a small product and either get comfortable and just, build a small business that's producing a good amount of revenue to sustain your business partners, your employees, or you can step into tangential markets because you built something small in a big market, and you can then try introducing new product features, new product lines, maybe extending your product stack, going up market, down market. There are a lot of opportunities once you find that initial foothold in a market. So this is all called slice of pie theory, where your job is to identify, a gap in the market and go capture that slice of pie. So a couple concepts that you need to understand is, one, TAM. Investors and just generally entrepreneurs have to understand TAM as total available market. That is how much you can serve. how many customers are out there, how much money is being transacted, and then what's the growth rate as well. So there's a concept called CAGR, which is a acronym used to describe annual growth rate. So it's saying like, hey, this particular industry is growing at X% every year, right? So you need to find a business or a category that has a huge available market, and this can either be measured in, customers or dollars, most likely dollars, so that you can understand, okay, there are 100,000 customers out there potentially, and each customer could potentially spend, say, $100 on my platform, right? On the solution. So that gives you a sense of how much money is out there that you can chip into. And it's important that you identify the growth rate or the CAGR, because you only want to participate in markets that have growing markets. Like, for example, you don't want to be going somewhere that's declining. Like, for example, like brick and mortar retail. Like, more and more people are going to e-commerce, Amazon, trusting Shopify stores. Like, you don't want to be investing in potentially technology that, supports businesses like Forever 21 and Zoomies and all these mall, chains that are actually on the downfall, right? You want to be investing in things like AI and blockchain and industries that are seeing rapid growth, education, right? These are businesses that are categories that even post-COVID or post-recession, like these are categories that are growing. The third thing is differentiation. What makes your product unique? And all of us hear about this term differentiation, but what does it really mean? Okay, well, you can differentiate on so many different levels. You can differentiate on your brand, on your customer service, on your UI UX, as weird as it sounds, on the messaging or the marketing, and then of course the features as well, because there are so many types of app personas out there, or people who are using your app. There might be a business owner out there, but what kind of business owner? Is it a young 26-year-old? Is it a older business owner, 50, 55 years old, who is, trying to stay alive by keeping up with technology, right? There are so many different types of business owners that I often see too many times. Our students are saying, hey, we want to serve business owners. Okay, well, what kind? Because the 26-year-old business owner is going to want to employ technology that helps them scale. The 55-year-old business owner is going to want technology, but they're going to want big buttons. They're going to want easy to use messaging. Their customers might also be 50-plus-year-olds who aren't so technology friendly. They're going to want to use products that are, fit for their lifestyle. So these are all things you have to account for. Like, there could be two apps, for example, sports ticketing apps, and there are two apps in the space right now. There's Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster is like the majority. Like, you go to Ticketmaster for all your ticketing, but then you can go to like Game Time, and Game Time is sweet because it's a mobile app. It's really easy to use. It's like made for the young person who wants to go last minute, who maybe isn't planning stuff like a family. So families, concert goers, those type of people might go to Ticketmaster, but people who are young and fast paced and living in cities, they might go to Game Time, because Game Time offers a really easy interface that allows you to get in. So those are two ways you can have differentiation in your product. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It literally has to be that you understand your target customer at a creepy level. Like, you have to understand, how do they use computers? What's their emotions toward computers? Do they get frustrated easy? Do they want to use big buttons? How do you message toward them, right? These are all differentiation factors that you can use, and it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, right? Think like an investor, right? And I'm going to start getting away from apps just for a quick moment so you can understand the fundamental concepts before we go into the app world, because too many times people overcomplicate the app world. They think that, oh, they're software products that's run differently. It's this whole other like pseudo world out there that's like the metaverse. But at the end of the day, software businesses are businesses, and all businesses, when you think about it from first principles, behave the same way. So let's jump into a real estate investor's thought process real quick. Like, imagine you're a real estate investor. What are the things that you're looking at? You're probably looking at comparable home sales in the area, right? How many homes are being sold? What's the price of them being sold? How many homes are in the area? And then this last one's really important. Are there enough homes to serve all the income classes? This is something that I learned as a real estate investor earlier in my career. Like, you can have many homes in an area, but you have to understand what the economic activity in that area is. How much labor workers are there? How many office workers are there? How many entrepreneurs are there? Construction people, generational family wealth. You have to understand the makeup of an area. So when you think about the area as a market, right, we have to understand how people are interacting in that area with homes. Some people just need a place to stay because they are working minimum wage jobs. They just need a roof over their heads. Some people are middle-class families who want, a community pool, who want a good homeowners association where they have events and stuff going on for people to interact with. Some people are entrepreneurs and they're looking for huge homes so that they can, build generational wealth, right? There are people who have generational wealth who are looking for even bigger homes where they can, support their families and raise grandchildren. There's so many different use cases for homes. So if you think about homes as a product and how you can have many different types of homes to serve all the different income classes, the same principle can apply in software. There might be software out there for certain groups of people, but are they serving all the entire spectrum? For example, one of the SaaS companies that I built a few years ago during COVID was called Uniform Lab. And we built software for sports apparel companies, or any apparel company really, to offer their customers a custom design software. So if you wanted to order a t-shirt, you can go onto this platform called Uniform Lab. It was white labeled to the business owner. You could design a t-shirt and send it to the company. We targeted mom and pop apparel manufacturers. So like your town might have, somebody out there who's producing the sports uniforms for the local, soccer club, or t-shirts for the local senior citizen home, right? We targeted that group of people. There were huge players out there, that were charging 6 figures a year for like high-end 3D software products for like high-end, 7-figure manufacturers. But we weren't going after the 7-figure manufacturers. We wanted the mom and pop ones who wanted to offer their customers, a cutting-edge software. So we identified that was a gap in the market. We sold our software for a good price, $5,000 a year, which is roughly $500 a month, $550 a month. Okay. And our customers were super happy. They're like, yeah, we don't have to pay like $3,000 to these big guys. I'm finally happy there's somebody like you who can serve me. We weren't afraid of the big guys. We just knew that there was a market for the others. So I hope by thinking like an investor, you can now reverse engineer. Like, oh, okay, there's this large market, and is every, class of that market served, right? Okay. Now you can understand the app landscape even easier. Start thinking about it like an investor, because there is a high chance that someone has already thought of your idea before, but there is a low chance that that idea targets the same people you're thinking about. Think about who you are. How much money do you make? What are your goals in life? Who do you resonate with? Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I resonate with people who are, evergreen from the roots. They started in a small town. Like, that's the type of entrepreneur I like to interact with. Like, I'm not a guy who you're going to see in Dubai with, fancy cars and flexing on Rolexes on Instagram. Like, I'm a certain type of entrepreneur. So you might be a certain type of person too. And people buy from people that they look and feel and talk like. So use that to your advantage. Okay. So thirdly, there's a low chance that the existing products in the market have led with AI. Nowadays, people are playing catch up with AI. Like, for example, if a company hasn't introduced AI into their product yet, they're probably like scrambling to introduce ChatGPT API and have some sort of, AI enabled feature. But there's an opportunity for you right now as an entrepreneur to build a product that leads with AI in markets that people have never seen AI before. So when you think about it like an investor, now you can see how you can differentiate. Okay. There might be a ton of homes, but how many homes have, solar panels or smart roofs, right? Like there are ways that you can add these kind of bells and whistles to really separate yourself from the rest of the crowd. Next is something inevitable that you have to be ready for. Every industry or space has a major player. You need to be ready. For example, fantasy sports. We had DraftKings and FanDuel. When I joined PrizePicks super early as employee 19, every one of my friends was saying, damn, you're going to go compete with DraftKings and FanDuel? And we were like, hell yeah, because our game mode is totally different. And we have a community, we have a user base who's loyal. And yeah, we can definitely compete with DraftKings and FanDuel because we identified that there was a problem with their game. So that's for fantasy sports. For painting, you might have Sherwin-Williams, like Kelly Moore Paints. Like, these are huge corporations who have, online software, who run a bunch of ads, but people still choose, mom and pop painting businesses. Or like, how about swapping glass on your car? You can go to the local auto shop and get your glass swapped on your car. But then there's people like SafeLight who partner with insurance companies, and they're all over the United States. Okay. What about oil changes like Oil Stop? but people still go to mom and pop. People still call their local mechanic and have them come in. Or pizza. And you're going to need to understand pizza in just a second, because Pizza Hut was a corporation. They had mass-produced pizza, but people still choose gourmet pizza, right? People still choose local businesses. Why though? Why do people hire local contractors? Why do they shop at local businesses and pay 5 times more sometimes? This answer can be anything, but the high-level concept is differentiation. And something that I really want to call out here too is that customers behave in oftentimes irrational ways. You shouldn't make assumptions about your customer. Let your customers prove you that they're going to behave a certain way, but don't make assumptions. Don't be like, oh, just because my pizza is 5 times more expensive, people aren't going to buy it. It's 5 times more expensive. That's absolute bullshit. Like, people interact in such crazy ways. My partner Adrian runs a storytelling app, and they offer 2 modes of purchasing gems from their story. They could do a one-off purchase, which is a little bit more expensive, or they can buy a subscription, which is substantially cheaper. And Adrian says, we have a subscription model, but people still buy the one-off purchases, even though it's significantly more expensive. Maybe there's some sort of like thought process that they're taking on themselves to make that decision, but customers will interact in very irrational ways. You have to be ready for that. All right, so let's jump into a market sizing exercise, shall we? All right, so you have 1,000 families living in a small town. You survey that town to find that 500 of those families eat 1 pizza a week, and the average pizza in that town costs $35. That means the average weekly market size for pizza is $17,500. That means that there's $17,500 of pizza being sold on a weekly basis, which is monthly $70,000. Fantastic. We know that this town is selling $70,000 of pizza every single month at one pizza shop. Okay, well, say you're in a really fast growing town and the town's growing at a 5% growth rate. That's analogous to the concept of CAGR, right? Compound annual growth rate. And you're going to need to know this if you're looking to raise money from investors, because yes, $70,000 a month is a small, in the grand scheme of things. But when you think about the market growing and growing and growing, and the only pizza shop being something that's very basic and old and fatigued, investors are going to get excited about this. Let's dive in deeper. The pizza shop that I'm talking about is a franchise called Pizza Hut. They had to spend $500K on the location because of their franchise requirements. So that means they had a huge overhead. Now they need to clear that overhead. They use low quality ingredients. The employees are just kids from high school. They're switching all the time. They're paid poorly, and they don't really care about the pizza because it's a franchise. The owner's not there. They don't really care. The ingredients are sourced from corporate, meaning that they're probably really cheap, low quality, and they probably if you're in California, it's probably coming from South Dakota, right? And so that is an old, fatigued business. But nowadays, the market is very sophisticated. And I'm not just talking about pizza. Like post-COVID, post-crypto, like think about it. A lot of us lost money in crypto. A lot of us have, gotten burnt in stocks and trading options. A lot of us have tried to get into e-commerce and dropshipping and get into all these things. Most of us have tried these things and we've learned from it. That happens in markets. Markets get sophisticated over time. And in the app world too, people are seeing more software now than ever because it's so easy to build apps. So now you have an idea to introduce organic farm-to-table pizza at the same price. That's going to attract a market that's like younger, that's more in tune with the world, that understands social problems. Like my parents, they don't care about farm-to-table. Like my parents want a good tasting pizza and they're willing to pay $35 and they actually prefer Pizza Hut. But me, I don't like Pizza Hut. I don't want to be supporting a huge conglomerate. I don't want to be supporting a business that's not circulating money in my economy. So instead of me fearing the fact that there's another pizza shop, I'm going to embrace that. And I'm going to think about how I would introduce a new pizza shop that could, capture this market, maybe even attract new customers. So now I know there's $70,000 of pizza to be sold, and the other 500 families don't buy Pizza Hut because maybe they've had a bad experience. And that's probably why they don't eat pizza. So you have an idea to open a pizza shop to capture $40,000 of that pizza market because you did some surveys, you found that, hey, out of 500 people who are going to Pizza Hut, $40,000 worth of those people have told you that they would prefer farm-to-table pizza. So you're like, all right, cool, let's do that, okay? Your shop only costs $100,000 to open up because you didn't have to go through some franchise. Your rent is lower because you negotiated. You run the shop yourself with a partner. You attract new customers because you are local, you're unique, you love talking to the customers, and you have a unique offering. You're also willing to listen to your customers. Now you have a sustainable business. You probably have bigger profit margins because you're running the business. Even though you're making 40,000, they're making 70. Their corporate level is probably spending a ton of money on advertising. They're probably burning through money by, cycling through employees. They probably are overstaffed as well. So like, you have to think that just because that business has a little bit more revenue doesn't mean they have the most margins as well. Your margins could be bigger. Okay. So look, now you have a sustainable business and you're actively capturing that Pizza Hut market. You're going to attract more people. You might even introduce more people who were maybe sandwich eaters at first or rice bowl eaters. And now that, you are operating the business yourself, you might be able to build a larger business than them. So now let me show you 2 tools that I use to perform this exact type of analysis on the app market. So anytime a builder comes into our program and they want to know if their app is worth pursuing, or if I'm looking for a SaaS product to build, these are the first 2 things that I do. There are 2 tools. One's called App Figures, which is ASO, which stands for App Store Optimization, App Intelligence, Analytics. You can use App Figures to really scope in and spy on your competitors' revenue. So for example, yesterday we had a builder come in. They're building a niche fitness app that leads with AI that's totally different. It serves a particular type of market segment. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, fitness apps are huge. Who's the biggest fitness app, probably in the space? And we all agreed. We thought it was MyFitnessPal. So you can create an account on App Figures and we can type in any app here. So I'm gonna say MyFitnessPal. Okay. We'll let this load. I don't think I typed it correctly. We'll let this load and we should be able to click on MyFitnessPal and dive into the app insights for MyFitnessPal. Okay. So we'll see here after this is ready to load that MyFitnessPal in December had 600,000 downloads and it's on a decline. Not sure why. But you can see in December 2023, they did estimated 9 million in revenue. That's absolutely nuts. So you're telling me that this fitness tracking app, it's a calorie counter. It probably has no niche. It's just a calorie counter, broad market. But since I think they're owned by Under Armour, or maybe they have the backing of a large company who can spend $9 million in ads, they can afford to spend all this money and capture the market. But what if there's calorie counters for Indians, South Indians, vegetarians, vegans, bodybuilders, AI powered apps where you can take pictures of recipes or pictures of your food and then calculate the calories with those pictures. Like, MyFitnessPal is probably scrambling to add AI in their app. And because their code base is so big and bloated and they have so many engineers and such a big company, they probably can't move that fast. So now you and I as entrepreneurs, we can identify that, hey, there's $9 million worth of fitness tracking money being spent. Let's go get that fitness tracking money, right? Okay, all we need to do is build something very small. Maybe we target South Indian vegetarian bodybuilders. And can we not capture $100,000 a month worth of that if MyFitnessPal is doing 9 million? That's absolutely huge, right? That was the same type of thought process I took when I built Virally and I was looking at social media apps. I noticed that there was huge apps for social media, Hootsuite being one of the biggest ones. I'm not sure that they do in-app purchases, but if we were to find out here, they still have 10,000 downloads. Let's say we'll search for something like Go Viral, which is what I was searching for when I was, trying to build Virally for the first time. Don't think I'm seeing one here. Or say I want to build a meditation app. Who's the biggest in this space? Probably Calm, right? We have a bunch of people in the Ambitious Labs accelerator building meditation apps, but all of them are for very small niches and they're all generating some revenue. So if you look at Calm is an app that, has a bunch of backing from Kaiser Permanente, insurance companies, and they're able to push $4 million worth of meditation. But meditation is not the same for everybody. Hindus meditate differently, maybe Christians, Buddhists, everybody has their own style. So what if you built a very niche meditation app, maybe similar to Calm? You could probably copy all of Calm's infrastructure, and your main differentiator is your messaging, your marketing, your product positioning, and then the content. That's going to really set you apart. Okay, here's a bonus. I want to tell you a real big secret if you made it this far in the video that Adrian told me. Adrian's my CMO at Ambitious Labs. He ran an app called Lure. He still runs it. They do $10 million in revenue. But he told me something that's super crazy. So just because a company is doing 4 million in revenue does not mean that they're profitable, because a lot of these app businesses are ran off of paid advertising. So you pay Facebook, Google, TikTok, Twitter, you pay providers or ad networks to run ads for the platform. And advertising on apps is moderate. It's not too expensive, it's not cheap, but the margins are slim sometimes. So just because Calm maybe is doing 4 million, they might have spent 3.5 million on ads. So that means they probably only made $500,000. Okay. A lot of apps do a poor job of like increasing what's called LTV, lifetime value, because every business has a CAC, a cost of customer acquisition. And that's a whole separate concept I'll cover in a different lesson, but every business has a CAC, and your job is to make more money than you are paying to acquire. But then the hardest part is extending the value of your customer after you've acquired them. Say you charge $10 a month for your app or $100 a year, but you only paid $60 in advertising or marketing to acquire that. You're at a gross margin of $40 before fees. Okay. But we don't want to just make 40. How do we make that customer pay us more money than 40? How do we make 100 off that customer? That's the concept of extending LTV. And so I want you to understand that, like, just because there's a lot of money floating around in one market doesn't mean that that company's extremely profitable. They're making a ton of money. That's where you can come in, build something that's lean, niche. You don't have to go after all these crazy user acquisition budgets. Build something that's lean, niche, find cheap channels. And nowadays it's easier to go organic with TikTok. It's easier to go organic with Instagram Reels, SEO. There are other cheaper ways of acquiring traffic. So don't be scared of these whales. We call them whales in the app world. Yeah, so that's the end of the lesson. I hope that you acquired some mindset. Go ahead and use app figures. Pick the app that you're working on. Find a competitor in that space. Go to app figures, search for that app. I also like to use Sensor Tower as well. Sensor Tower is a little bit more expensive if you pay, but you can hop into Sensor Tower and do the same thing. Like, you literally can just look up, Headspace here if you were building a meditation app. And you can see that Headspace did $3 million last month and they have $100,000 in revenue, right? So yeah, really, really cool app analytics tools. I highly recommend any of y'all who are building an app, thinking about an idea, maybe launching a startup, to always be analyzing competitors. There's nothing wrong with doing this. That's why these tools are here. And you can honestly do a lot more, like look at their, SEO, what words are they ranking for? What are people searching to find those? Maybe you can find low competition keywords, like keywords that are very unique and niche, and those apps are still ranking up top for. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do when you're inside of Sensor Tower app analytics and app figures. So yeah, definitely spend an hour or two, go down the rabbit hole, take some screenshots, and come up with some ideas for ways that you can differentiate your app. I hope this lesson was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.